Uh-oh, we're live. That means it's Sunday once again. So what's up for all of you that are watching live and anybody watching on replay? Really do appreciate you swinging on by and checking this out. It's going to be a fun episode. Got Harris from One Penny at a Time, the OPAT podcast, as I call it, OPAT. So we're going to talk about what we've been buying, but I'm going to lead it off. I'm going to jump right in and tell all y'all another company that I just bought more of, and I really would like to add more because it's a company that's totally in my wheelhouse. And one last thing, everybody, we shouldn't have any problems with the old, adult ads because I turned it to subscriber only mode. So let's hope that this works out. And cool, some of you are already in the chat. So anyway, we're going to try this here, see if this whole thing works out. My little presentation here as I share my screen. Fumble and bumble through. Here we go. Oh, I could share a video file. No kidding. Let's see. Actually, I may have just found a solution to this. Let's see if this works. All right, I think we got it going. So check it out. Snap-on. I bought more Snap-on. Now, Morningstar gives them a fair value of $192, but hey, that's okay. What I think, and some notes I have, they're a healthy company because of auto repair demand is going to keep coming from the chip shortage. Consumers are keeping their cars longer. The average age of the US car is 12 years plus. So that's going to help them. They just had their third quarter earnings, so I think they're going to get a little bit of a pop. One thing I liked is sales are up 6% year over year and 22% since pre-pandemic levels of 2019, but their costs are up a little bit, 1.9% higher material costs from what I can tell. Interesting, their biggest segment was the repair systems and information segment that grew 13% year over year, boosted pretty much by something I've seen in my industry, which is the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer dealerships, and their tools segment, which is what most people, as you can see on the screen, know Snap-on for, is their tools. So that was up 5% year over year. I think from what I've seen and read, auto repair demand should continue to be high through 2023. Obviously, as that chip shortage starts to stabilize and come back online, that's going to be more new cars moving out the door. So that could be a little bit of a headwind. Now, one thing that's cool that I see is Snap-on. Just start paying attention. You're going to see these Snap-on vans playing here. So I'm going to have, you'll see inside one of them here in a minute after the deep well sockets video I got playing. So one thing interesting about Snap-on here is that the franchisees it's kind of like McDonald's. Check this out on the screen. Kind of like McDonald's. Their franchisees, these guys, these people that drive around in the vans. So they must invest in that van, the inventory you're looking at, and the software. But Snap-on will help out not only the franchisee, which they help them run their operation, which includes offering loans and the leases for the vans like we see here in the little video I did. Look at this. Look at me go. I'm learning. I'm growing, Ma. I'm doing things. So anyway, back to Snap-on. They're involved heavily, as I got ahead of my video here, in diagnostics and equipment and vehicle complexity. Not worried at all about as we're moving into the EV space, because companies are tapping Snap-on to create processes and systems for diagnosing repairs and things that don't even exist yet that mechanics are going to need to know. And even if it's OEM, like Tesla, they repair their own cars, they're still going to need processes for doing this. So demand is going to shift from engines to batteries, sensors, and advanced driver assistance systems, which is like Mobileye, which is going to be IPOing. New tools, diagnostic equipment needs to be created, like we just talked about. So that's, I think, going to be a good thing. That's going to be a tailwind for Snap-on as we shift away from engines into the EVs. And they also have market exposure to heavy-duty vehicles, machinery, aerospace, defense, agriculture, and construction. So they're all over the place. One thing that could be Another headwind is that e-retailers. So if you go online and you buy tools, that's going to be competition. Plus, there's customer reviews and YouTube videos showing competitor tools and how to use things. But like we're looking at here, this multimeter on screen, Snap-on's diagnostics and tools are embedded in the inside of companies. There's a bit of a switching cost because these techs, they know how to use these tools. They're integrated with software systems that Snap-on has, and that just deepens the connection between the customer and the techs. And hey, techs need to buy their own tools. Now, this is something that I am well aware of. Techs buy their tools, and from Snap-on, they're high end, they're high quality, one of the name brands. And they're willing to pay up. Why? Because they don't break. You could go to Harbor Freight Tools. Now, that's like a low-end knockoff junk that I sometimes buy when I want to cheap out. But when that stuff breaks, that increases the overall cost of ownership. And then wrapping this part up, they can call the vans. If a tool breaks, they're in the middle of a project, you call the van comes out, and the van will take care of you. And one more thing that's really cool is that techs don't have to pay upfront all at once. They offer financing, pay by the month options like that. So I think it's cool that they also have specialty tools and software for specific tasks and customer kits that competitors, they just don't have. So Snap-on, really unique, really solid company. I think 1920 in Kenosha, Wisconsin, which I just worked near them. So I want to go over really quick the Simply Safe dividends and show you why I like them so freaking much as we end this video here. Harris, by the way, is waiting. He's sitting in the green room, hopefully not all gopped up on the jitter juice. All right, let's see. Let's share my screen. Here we go. So really quick, we'll go through the Simply Safe dividends really, really fast and why I love this company. Let's not make it too big. How's that look for you mobile people? You people on mobile. So Snap-on, check this out. I should have put myself on the screen. You're going to all wait for me here for a minute. People are like, dude, that's rude. And it's like, no, he's just old. He needs to make sure that he's on. Look, I'm on my phone here. I'm like, I'm paranoid. I can't see myself on screen. Anyway, so 99, 2.73% dividend yield. Yeah, not super high, but they grow that dividend really, really quickly, as we're going to see here. The dividend safety. So during the last recession, negative 17.5% sales, but their return was negative 56%, in line with the S&P negative 55. Dividend streak of 83 years. I mean, dude, come on. That is just super solid. Dividend growth we see just very fast, 9% 20-year CAGR. I mean, come on, look at that chart. Good stuff. Again, 83-year uninterrupted, 12-year dividend growth streak. And there we see that they're paying $5.68 per share, and they're about due for another raise here. Didn't even think of that. Their last increase was November 21, so they're about due for another dividend hike right here. And just real quick, their timeliness. Dividend yield is 11% above the 5-year average. The PE is just below the forward PE, that is. And they're not down too much. 207.75. I did buy a share at 202.95, I believe it was. And here's what I love about Snap-on. Dude, 50% free cash flow payout ratio. Now their free cash flow has taken a bit of a hit, but man, these are almost like Microsoft-ish numbers for the tool space, which is just something that I think they have. Morningstar says they have a narrow moat, but we'll see. They have really solid numbers, solid company, 50% free cash flow payout ratio, but historically it's been in the high 20s to mid 30s, which is great. And you can see their free cash flow took a bit of a hit per share. Sales growth has come down a little bit. That's to be expected as, hey, we're headed toward a recession. So this is one of the headwinds. Techs may want to save a few bucks and switch toward the cheaper brands. Shares outstanding, only 54.3 million shares, and they haven't really increase. They had a slight increase from 20 to 21. Obviously, that pandemic was a bit of a monkey wrench, pun intended there. And what else are we looking at here? Really high return on equity, really nice return on invested capital, free cash flow margin at 12%, operating margin 26%, all really high and nice. And the beautiful thing, they have no net debt. And what they do owe on interest, they have $26.47 of operating income to cover every $1 of interest expense. So that is that. I'm going to get Harris ready here. Hope you're ready, bud, as I mosey on over to my ear. I want to know what you guys are buying. Where are you guys from? What are you buying? What are you doing? Look, it says R in here. So that goes on the right ear. Thank you, public school. Oh, dude, check this out. So we're gonna put Mr. Harris on the screen. Say something. Let me know I can hear you.
It's actually R for Rusty on the headphone, not for R for right. So
beautiful,
you get your own
dude.
custom headphones there.
Beautiful. Hey, so real quick, a little bit of inside baseball here. So Harris, he's pretty new into this whole wide world of content creation. So I want to ask you, what got you? Who are some of the names or people that really got you into this whole thing?
Sure. So, I mean, a little bit about me. I've been following the market since 2018, but I really didn't get serious about it till this year just because I had other goals like setting up the house. As you can see, this was my nerd cave, was like the number one goal I wanted to get, to have my own private space. Now that we got a house here, has been working on the stock market. For me, I remember when the pandemic happened, I was like, I'm bored. I got nothing to do. I'm going to start learning about this. Gen X dividend investor, PPC Ian. PPC Ian literally to me explained it to me like a 5-year-old, and that's what really made me click for it. And then that's where I started branching off.
You and I both.
Other influences. I'm sorry about that. Obviously, Ryne. Ryan's been a really big influence for me.
Who's that? Ryne Williams?
The Ryne Williams, of course.
Ryne Williams. We'll say hi to him. He's jumping on with us.
Look at that.
Ask and you shall receive. Harris, you must have rubbed the magic lamp a few times.
Magic bald head right up here. And then, of course,
what's going on, guys?
What's going on there? And then, of course, Russ, and I'm going to explain why you were a big influence for me. It's the personality. And you gave me, and we talked about this on our episode we did on the podcast, you gave me the confidence of not caring what people think. And that was my biggest struggle of why I waited so long to do this. It's like, I hate the sound of my voice. Am I going to sound stupid online? Is anybody going to listen? And just literally see your singing, your quotes, your impressions. It's like, no, I'm just going to go ahead and do this and let's see what happens.
Well, welcome to the club, baby. I hate the sound of my voice too. It's terrible. But do you know what, man? Like I've told this, like I tell my kids, I'm like, hey, did you choose how you wanted your voice to sound? No, I'm like, next, move on, accept it for what it is. You have no control over it. So go on, go forth and go forward, good kid. So what's up, Ryan? Vegas, dude, they can't cancel the concert out there, the When We Were Young Fest or something.
I know, isn't that crazy? I had a few friends, actually Nolan Gouveia, Professor G, was supposed to be in town for that concert, and then they canceled it the day of. But if you guys could be here, you should have seen how crazy the wind was yesterday, because that's why they canceled it, just due to high wind. I think the winds here got up as high as like 60 miles per hour, but it was crazy. Like it was unlike any other wind I think I've ever been in. Yeah.
I'm very glad I didn't pull the trigger on that, because when that got announced, a bucket list item for me is to go see My Chemical Romance. And I was going to buy tickets for that, but it's like, I was a little bit skeptical of how they're going to make all these bands and time slots work. And I said, let me see how it goes first and let's feel it out. I'm glad I didn't pull the trigger, because My Chemical would have been number one, and that was yesterday, and I would have been a very sad boy.
Next year, man. 2023 the lineup looks really good for 2023. My bucket list, I've already seen them once, but Blink, I'd love to see Blink again. So they're playing that next year, and I'm like, might have to do it next year. We'll see.
I got to see Blink in 2016, but obviously it's not with Tom. It's like I need to go see the real thing. So we'll see how that goes for this year. They have a couple stops. And they have a stop here in Austin. So
Russ, they'll be bringing on the Dead Milkmen. So there's something there that you'll
Dude,
enjoy it too.
Bitch and Camaro, Punk Rock Girl are two of my favorite songs by the Dead Milkmen. I've never seen them though, never had the pleasure. But yeah, okay. Enough of this. We're going to lose too many people. So since Ryan jumped on, I'll ask. Well, why don't we start with Harriet? Have you bought any Harris? This is what happens. This is a product of a guy whose brain starts moving way too fast for his mouth. So
You must have had a couple margaritas already this morning.
I didn't. I'm still in sober October, man. I'm
That's
plowing
right. Sorry, man.
through it. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's nice. You don't have a problem. So, or I don't, at least. I don't know about you guys. I don't care. Nobody's judging. So, Harris, what have you bought? Have you bought anything this week? What are you looking at buying if you haven't bought anything?
So this week, I actually didn't really buy anything other than $8 worth of Starbucks, and it was just to use it as I actually had somebody email me like saying, "Hey, how do I even start like thinking about what to put in?" And I used the example, and I kind of did a screen share. It's like, "Hey, what are you interested in?" Well, I go to Starbucks a lot. It's like, okay, how much did you spend at Starbucks this week? I actually bought a coffee for $8 this morning. If you're gonna buy a coffee for $8, and I literally showed, I'm gonna put $8, match it, and that's just like a simple way of how you can maybe start investing without like, I don't know what my budget is. Like, doing little small steps like that, I think that's gonna have like a big roll on to like get you motivated to do it. For me, my buys are next week coming up. Like we talked about, I'm gonna take on the one share challenge so I hit the 100.
Nice.
I'm actually gonna do it with SCHD. So I'm going to start buying at least the minimum one share per deposit, maybe a couple, depending how it goes, and build that up. Right now, actually, and it took a big hit this week, I got to add on to Lowe's. Lowe's took a pretty big chunk of, I think I'm down like 8 or 9% of the position right now. So I think it's a really good time to just put some money in there and dollar cost average. Other than that, the only other one I have an eye on that they really had a really bad earnings this week was Ally, ticker symbol ALLY. I used to work in banking, so I'm really pretty in depth with like the banking side of it. Like obviously the big risk with Ally is their dependency on mortgage and auto loans, and that took a massive hit not with all the interest rate hikes. The reason why I'm still pretty high on Ally is the brick and mortar bank, I feel like, is going to die here in the next 30 to 40 years. And my opinion, I'm going to use JP Morgan as an example. They have so much money tied up into these leases, into real estate. And I really feel like with our generation and then the generations coming, there's going to be a big shift from that where you don't really have to go to a bank as much. Obviously, it's not going to be obsolete. There's no way. But, that's what has a big factor in like Ally's PE ratio. They don't have a lot of expenditures on like the real estate and, having to get these long-term leases. So those are like my big buys that I'm looking at. I have a couple that I'm looking at, but I'm not ready to pull any triggers or make any decisions yet on those.
Really? So you think, so Allied, I haven't dug into them too deep, but do they have any brick and mortar locations?
100% online. It is the largest online bank in the world. It is also the number one provider in the world for auto loans, which is why they had that big hit. So it's like a caveat. It could be really good when the market's doing really good, but right now the auto industry is just taking a whooping. I work in the insurance industry, so that's why I have a really pretty good amount of knowledge. And with like the repairs and kind of how you talked about with Snap-on, with the repairs, every single part is either delayed. Just to give you an example, I've seen cars that are 2022 or 2023 and they get in an accident, and let's say their harness, like a motor harness, gets damaged. They're only producing that for new vehicles. They don't even have the separate ones to be able to replace them in an accident. That's been causing a lot of problems. That causes total losses in vehicles, which then causes negative equity loans that have to be moved over and they become a little bit more risky. So it's kind of like a big, a play on everything, but I still believe in this company. Their 5-year CAGR is really, really good. And I still think they have a lot of room to grow. So
I got it on the screen, 41% 5-year CAGR. And it looks like their last increase was this past January of 2022, 20%. So they are due for another increase here coming up shortly. Should be in January. But yeah, that's look at that there. And their ex-dividend date is on Halloween. So you still have time to get in for that next dividend, which their yield is not popping up here. There we go. Their dividend yield is 105% above their 5-year average. That is very, very interesting. And I'm curious to see. So we look at their earnings, only a 26% payout ratio. Obviously, we look for banks, doesn't really help to look at their free cash flow. So look at their earnings payout ratio. Yeah, only 26%. So
Hey,
that's
Hey Russ,
yeah.
can you explain that? Can you explain why the free cash flow doesn't necessarily matter for banks? This is something we were kind of talking about this on the Dividend Happy Hour on Friday because I was looking into some banks, and I know you don't really look as much at free cash flow for banks and financial stocks as you do other companies. But why exactly is that?
Well, they give an explanation here. I'll just so I don't fumble through it. So they say that cash flow is highly volatile and hard to define because a bank's operations are closely tied to the interest rates and investments and debt rather than the tangible products. So because they have their, like I said, they have their operations, their investments, their debt, things like that are tied to interest rates, so it can fluctuate quite a bit. So their earnings per share for banks is a lot, makes more sense to use earnings per share payout ratio. So they look pretty good, man. They are, I don't know. They look solid. I don't know if I would be investing in them yet. I just had my JP Morgan shares called away. It was the craziest thing. So I 122.50, there's some resistance there on a chart, on a short-term chart. And Friday just was crazy. In the morning, for instance, JPM was down, I think around 114 a share, something like that. And I had a $122 call option out there. I still made money. I'm still up a little bit. Overall, like 983 from where I originally bought those shares on a cash secured put. But anyway, so point being, right now in the retirement account, I just got $12,200 dropped in from those shares. So I may just sell like a 119, a little bit below cash secured put coming up for this Friday. So if that gets assigned, then I can get back in at a little bit of a cheaper price, throw a couple more shares of realty income, hopefully into the hopper. I'm trying to build those up to 100, but it's a little bit harder with the retirement account because I'm not putting money into it and I don't want to pull any more out of the IRA. Because for those of you that are watching that don't know, what I did was I took $30,000 from my retirement account and put it into a Schwab retirement account that I can just show, like, I bought a whole bunch of things, and it just so happened that it was in March of the end of March 2020, so almost right at the pandemic low. So I just started buying things like McDonald's and Microsoft, a few shares, just all this stuff, and it went way up from there. So anyway, I'm still growing it, but I'm doing that with more options income and then, of course, dividends. So I'm really trying to work toward, I probably should just sell cash secured put on realty income. Anyway, I'm still thinking about that, but I don't know how I got off on this tangent. What were we talking about? What about you, Ryan? What are you buying? What are you looking at?
Well, this week I picked up some. What did I buy? I bought one share of KRC. Been buying that kind of steadily every week for a while. What else did I buy? I bought some more Procter and Gamble. That's been in the rotation heavy this last month. And I think I'd have to double check because I don't remember off the top of my head. But I either bought some more Lowe's. I think I bought some more Lowe's. That's what it was. Like Harris.
Okay,
had to dump
nice.
a little more into Lowe's.
Harris, KC. KC's got a question for you. Any thought on the unexpected departure of Ally's chief financial officer, Leclerc, immediately prior to earnings? Something I was not aware of.
Yes. So I found out about the departure the day of the earnings, and I literally woke up. It's like, ooh. And I expected the Ally earnings to not be sexy. I'm going to be the first one to say it, but the level of the miss was so bad. And I'm going to give you my take on this without looking at, any of the news. So I'm going to explain this based off my career. So when 2020 happened and all this stuff with all this crazy for the auto flipping, like people were getting more for the used autos than they were when they bought them originally. And it's like all this crazy things. So with all this, with all those manufacturing issues on all these vehicles, with all these delays, insurance companies were getting to the point where it's like, hey, it's 6 months in, this car is sitting in the shop. We have no idea when this part's going to come. We're just going to total out the vehicle. The problem that was happening on that side of it is there were so many negative equity loans that either got moved to other loans. So let's say, for example, you bought a car, 22 grand brand new. The actual cash value of it, let's say it's 19. The second you drive it off the lot, for those who don't know, the second it drives off the lot, it loses so much value right off the bat. And then you're adding all this negative equity from this other loan onto this new loan. So now you have like a $28,000 loan for a base model car. It's going to get to the point right now with this recession that they say that's not happening, but we'll get, that's a whole nother topic. But people, it's going to come to the point where people are not going to, they're so upside down, they're not going to be able to pay. And that's going to cause a big repo. Right now, in my industry that I'm looking at, repos have been going up month per month, very, very, very steady. And that's losses for the bank. And then when you have a repo, the chances of them getting all of it back is like a non-existent. So at that point, when a repo happens, they'll auction off the car, get what they can, and then they either in-house or they'll get a third party. They're trying to regroup the other money. That causes a big ripple effect, like we saw with how big of the miss was. So I think that they got really greedy and they did all these loans. It's like, let's just give all these loans. We're killing it. The auto industry is going there, and now got hit in the face, and now they have to regroup and figure that out. That's my take on this, but I need to look into more to get you a definite answer. That's just kind of what my take is based off where the miss was with Ally and based off of my industry, which I work in. Dude,
interesting. Yeah, it's completely, I don't really know that much. This is why I love having people on. Just, dude, there's so much information. It's funny for me, like with Snap-on, like Nora, I was seeing the Stock Explorer. I was looking through some of the earlier comments. I work in a lot of, not a lot, but I work in auto repair shops and OEM, like Toyota dealerships and Honda dealerships. And it's funny, all those mechanics, I always see Snap-on tools all over the place. I always see the Snap-on vans coming and going. And it's a solid brand. And it's funny. It's like a lot of things in life. Do you want to pay up for quality, or do you want to buy something pretty cheap? So, and of course, I say this as somebody who only owns a couple of Snap-on hand tools. But for auto mechanics, I know they're really, really tied to that industry and like machinery in general. And dude, they have to have very specific tools for things that they do. And sometimes buying the cheap Chinese junk just doesn't cut it. So that's an interesting insight. I love that.
Yeah. And honestly, if it wasn't for me working in the industry, I would have never came up with that. But it kind of ties into what I look at. And that's why I've been really kind of getting, following banking. I used to work in banking a couple of years ago, and now that I'm in insurance, it all kind of ties in a way.
Yeah, I like this. So Casey also asked on Snap-on, I guess there was a hedge eye short report, which I honestly didn't know about. And she asked if I guess it says all their organic growth is in their Asia Pacific segment, which is facing huge foreign exchange expense headwinds. Yeah, honestly, I don't know anything about that, and it's something I will definitely look into. But in the earnings report, they did say, though, that their sales are up 22% overall since 2019. So kind of not factoring in the headwinds from the pandemic. They said, as I read through it, that Steve Pinchuk, the CEO, said they're basically they're growing, and they continue to expand and grow and hold their market share. So I still think they're just such a solid company. And you guys own AT&T, right? They had a big jump. Like, that was kind of funny. And somebody asked about VZ. I almost bought a little more Verizon just because it's cheap. I don't think they're going anywhere. I know for the fiber that they should have all probably spent a little bit more earlier, but it's really expensive to build fiber. And like what I'm using right now, like the coaxial just doesn't cut it with, it's good for, I think you guys might know this, Ryne, for the download speeds, but coaxial for down and up at the same time. It's
a bit
the lag
slower on the upload.
Yeah, it can't really handle it. So the world is just so much further increasing toward what like we're doing here, just on this, silly little thing with the down and the ups at the same time.
What's funny is I'm gonna jump off of T. This is like the first time in I don't know how many years that there's been any positive news. So hopefully this kind of picks up. But I actually used to work for AT&T in 2016 when they did the big DirecTV, when they bought DirecTV a little bit after that. And I knew the second they bought that, like, this is the dumbest mistake they've ever made, because you start talking to people about it And they're like, why would I get cable? I have streaming. I don't need this. The only people that ever bought DirecTV at that time were the people who wanted the NFL package, the Sunday, the ticket. But then Sling, which is actually what I use for streaming, released NFL Red Zone, which is the exact same thing. So everybody started knocking it off. So then it's like, that was the only reason to get DirecTV. And it's like, you guys just made a bad investment.
Yeah. And that's kind of what, where did Casey say it? She said it about the, if you're being outperformed by the incompetence of AT&T, like you should be worried. And I think June 2020, that was the biggest jump that their shares have had. So let's see. Hey, Darren, fellow YouTuber here, Invest with Darren. Haven't chatted with him in a bit. He agrees with you. The legacy banking model being near obsolete in the next 20 years, if not sooner. I'm with him, man. I don't remember the last time I actually went into a physical bank. How about you guys? For me, it's been a long time.
I use the ATM a decent amount. I think it's super helpful to still have access to cash until we move. Well, I guess a lot of transactions are done more so with credit or debit cards these days, but still, cash is in circulation. So I think that there will be at least some sort of demand for that. But also, in talking about all this Ally stuff and no physical locations, and comparing that to some other companies like JP Morgan or Chase, or even some of the regional banks, but just sticking to the big guys, JP Morgan and Chase. I mean, who's to say, and this is probably already starting to happen, who's to say that at some point those big businesses who have so much capital, and mind you, a great amount of negative net debt. I think Bank of America's got negative $20 billion of debt on their balance sheet right now. So they're in a great spot, a lot of capital. Who's to say they couldn't go completely physical location free like Ally? Who's to say they couldn't make that same transition?
Yeah. And you guys, I always say it. This is what I think makes investing so fun, is that all these companies, I've said it over, they're all living, breathing entities. And the first order of business for any entity that's living, lest they be suicidal, is to survive and adapt and continue to thrive and grow. So that's why we're seeing like the cigarette companies, European Dividend growth. Where is he? I think it's Philip Morris. They're something about creating a sustainable future. Like that's their some just amorphous tagline that nobody knows what it means. But all these companies, like you said, with the DeFi, I remember reading everyone saying that DeFi is going to put Visa and all these crypto coins and cross-border, they're all going to put Visa and MasterCard and American Express out of business, but they're just going to adapt and they'll come up with their own solution. They're going to do what it takes to survive. So
now, having said that, sorry, Russ, to jump back in, but having said that, one thing that Ally has a very apparent advantage over these other two banks, in particular JP Morgan and Bank of America, is the high interest on that savings account. Like that's unbeatable. I'm going to be putting a video out on this Wednesday talking about it more, but it's crazy. Like, so Ally's current savings rate or interest rate on the savings account, I think, is 2.35 or 2.38%, something along those lines.
2.35.
Okay. The highest that you can find right now at Bank of America is 0.02%. The highest that you can find right now at JP Morgan is 0.01%, or Chase, 0.101%.
That's why I changed from Chase to Ally, was that exact reason.
Yeah. So as a consumer, looking to maximize, your savings, it's like Ally is the obvious choice in that regard. But having said that, Bank of America and JP Morgan are in a good place right now too. They're letting Ally test the waters with being completely, location free. And if it works for Ally, then like I said, I think these other banks like JP Morgan and Bank of America could easily make that transition as well once they decide, okay, this is officially the way that things are going. This is what seems to be working, so we're just going to jump on board. Thanks for testing the waters there, Ally. And where this might hurt some of these banks in the sector is the smaller regional banks who maybe aren't going to have as easy of a time converting to strictly physical location free, because those particular banks, I would imagine, in some capacity, their customers or the people doing banking with them are those that still like to physically go into those locations. And over time, like that pool of people probably will decrease in volume.
Yeah. And then also with Ally, I'm going to jump off and one, I'm going to talk to this on their marketing standpoint, and one of another benefit other than the high savings account is they just started doing this year. If you do direct deposit with them, you actually have, for example, let's say your paychecks come in on every Thursday, you can get it up to 2 days earlier now. And that is a
Nice.
benefit that's been amazing. I actually do have that benefit. So it's like, I mean, there's no fee for it. You're getting your money before. It's like, why, Chase wouldn't do that. It's like, why get my money earlier? Why not? But then right now they're getting really aggressive with adding more money into like their bank. So right now with their savings account, I forgot what the cutoff date is for it, but I think you have to put a minimum of 500, and I forgot what the cap was. If you leave the money in there after a certain date, I think it's like January 2023, they're going to give you a 1% match. So they're getting really aggressive to get more funds on their asset. And like I said, they're really getting aggressive just to, get more clients, and then get maybe Ally's a bank where people have like, say, their Bank of America or their Chase, but then they have that on the side. They're getting people to put more money in them. Like, give us your money. We're going to make you more on your money. And I feel like with the bigger banks, they are holding back on those interest rates. So they're being aggressive to make sure they can really capitalize on that.
Yeah, and that's gonna be their big advantage over time. I think is the interest rate on the savings accounts. And I don't know at this point. I don't know that because of the amount of customers they have, because they've been around for so long. I don't know that J.P. Morgan or Bank of America really feel the need to go that high with their savings rate, because that's why the savings rate for Ally is so high, is to acquire more customers, right? And to grow and do that. So I just don't know that JP Morgan and Bank of America right now are really hurting for that, which is why the interest rates are still so low, plus the physical locations,
So check this out. I just did some on the fly research for all y'all out there. It looks to me like this is the highest FDIC insured savings right now is UFB Direct, who I've never heard of. But it was from a CNBC article that went through for October of 2022. But check that. So this is also a draw away from stocks that we invest in, because here you can get 3.11% APY. And look at that. No monthly maintenance fee. There's no minimum deposit. I think I even saw something about you get a free ATM card, but 3.11% shows me. I mean, granted, you're going to have inflation eroding your money, but I mean, there you go. Just stuff like that. This is stuff that our stocks have to compete with, and this is just adding pressure to it, because it wasn't that long ago when, oh my God, what were banks giving like you said, like Bank of America, I think, is still down there, just stupidly low.
0.1% before I made my change.
Yeah. So now, I mean, if you're a strict income investor and you just want that guaranteed risk-free income right now, granted that can change, but that's competition for our lovely dividend stocks. All right, let's see. Let me go through here. Thanks for jumping on, Ryan. I do appreciate that, man.
Man, well, thank you for the invite. I wasn't planning on jumping on, and I'll probably have to hop off here in a few minutes to go to breakfast. But man, I'm glad I had a few minutes this morning to hang out with you guys for a few.
Yeah, I told Ryan, I was like, dude, Harris is coming on. You should surprise him. All right, let's see. Somebody had a question here, I think. I don't know.
Harris, man, your nerd cave is looking sick, man. I like how you've hung up all those pictures back there. I really like how they're staggered like that too.
Yeah, so I can't take credit for the staggering, because if you'll know if I hang a picture and then when my spouse does the hanging. So the room is about 70% done. I have all, like, not on camera, I have a lot of wall space to put up.
Okay.
I got a lot of big, the big movie posters and concert ones I haven't put up yet. So we're almost there.
Dude, I love it here. I was too slow on this.
Ooh, yeah, dig it, yeah.
That came true, right? Did I do it right?
It's the Macho Man. Macho Man is actually, let me move my mic a little bit, on the right corner up there. I do have Macho Man up there. And if I move this, I'm going to do this here, kind of improvising
Love
it. My Spider-Man up there is from the first movie with Tobey Maguire, where he's beating up Bonesaw,
Toby Mac.
who's also Macho Man. So yes, I do have a lot of wrestling.
So for anybody that uses StreamYard, that Snap-on video, I tried to upload it and it was too big. And then as I was just going on, I saw where you could present the video file. And so those little clips, I can just add them right on there, and they're already up on StreamYard. So that's kind of nice. And Yeah, somebody had a question wanting to know what we think about the overall stock market. No one has a crystal ball, but up or down compared to the Dow. I know for me, dude, I don't know. I have no clue where it's going to go, but I know over the course of many years, and this is the stat I always throw out, over any 20-year period, no matter when you started, the market has not lost money. So even if you put money in the market, and granted, the market is, as a whole, not an individual company because those come and go, but the market as a whole has gone up and you've never lost money over it. Even on the eve of the Great Depression, you've still made money. Interesting. Desk, I still can't say it, dude.
Ryan, I've seen this guy in your stream so many times. I have to give it a go. Let me see. Das Kapitalisten. Best as I'm gonna get, but I've had to try at least one time.
Harris, that was beautiful, man.
Thank you. It's a work of art.
Kapitalisten Schweinen. That's my go. Well, anyway, but yeah, he wouldn't bet any cent on AT&T revenue dividends chart.
Das Kapitalisten. Sorry, Russ. Kapitalisten Schweinchen. Das Kapitalisten Schweinchen.
I need to practice that so it'll just flow off in the.
One of these days, we're literally gonna say this with no hesitation. It's just gonna come out like we're gonna do it one day.
Here's Casey.
We just gotta keep practicing.
Yes.
She says historically the S&P has been up 100% of the time in the 12 months post midterms over the past. I did see that stat. Yeah, no problem, no guarantees.
That's an interesting stat. I would have not known that, so it's a good stat there.
Yeah. I did see or read that somewhere. Dude, we read so much information. It's crazy. It all like blends together. Let's see what Steve. I like Steve. I like you, Steve. He said we need where we live, you need an appointment now to even open up a bank account. If you just walk in, they say no. Really?
You can do that online, though. You can do that online.
Yeah. I just know, like, with certain people, they're very weird about putting their information online. They rather go in person and talk to somebody who's not a cyborg. So I know there are people who are very weird about that. So I can understand that point of view.
Yeah, like Darren, he agrees with you, Ryan. I think a typo maybe or blockers similar to the auto industry. Tesla starts with no physical location, so customers don't expect it. Yeah, it's interesting. Tesla's still going. They're still going direct to the customer, right? Yeah, just through their. Yeah,
they've got some like retail stores though. If you go to certain malls, if you go to certain places like that, you can like there's Tesla showrooms.
Yeah.
And stuff
One
like
thing
that.
I'll say.
There's no actual dealerships or anything.
Yeah, I feel like every time I've gone to something that's owned by Simon Property Group, I've seen at least a Tesla store there, hands down.
Really?
Yes.
I was just at the Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin outlets in Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin. I just said that, and yeah, it's a Simon Property Group. I didn't see a Tesla there, but I didn't walk around the whole thing, so that's dude, that's interesting. Zal, what's up, Zal? 100%. The interest rates are a relevant difference. Few basis points don't matter enough to jump. Yep.
And having said this, someone else left a comment about this too in the live chat. In terms of interest rates just on savings accounts, I mean, obviously Ally has that going on too, but there's a lot more to banks than, and this is something I'm learning too as I'm learning more about this industry, but there's a lot more to them than just the savings accounts, right? Like there's so many other products and services that they offer, from loans to checking and all that stuff. So I actually would be curious, because I haven't researched this. How does Ally do any of that, or is it for now? Is it just primarily a savings account?
Yes. So Ally, they obviously do, like, they have mortgage loans, they have the auto loans, which is like their biggest thing. The one thing that they have, and a lot of people don't know, and it's the one thing they are not capitalizing on, and I don't think it's not the best product. They actually do have an investment platform. I actually tried it out just to see how it was. It's not the most user friendly, and I feel like that's a big opportunity that they're missing with all the products they have, and they are hitting a younger demographic, and I feel like if they really work on that part of their business, I think that can just bring a whole new revenue stream and a whole new base of customers. So I think that's actually the biggest opportunity they have to grow.
Yeah, we didn't see Shamir here. He's big on the Canadian banks. And yeah, I don't own it. Do you guys own any of the Canadian banks?
No.
I don't just because it's more about, I need to learn more about like the taxes on international companies, but I had joined as a guest on a podcast that it's a Canadian podcast, and I forgot which bank it was. I think they're close to 200 consecutive years of dividends paid, which I thought was mind blowing.
Yeah. And Zal says Al has CDs, loans,
Okay.
investing, savings, and checking at least. And he says, if he remembers from Ari,
Yeah.
he uses Ally to invest. Ari, I hit him up on Instagram, man. I'd like to get him. I'd like to come on his or him here or whatever.
Yeah, I've been trying to schedule something with him too. I think I owe him an email back. Good dude.
I thought you said you had something going with him, something cooking.
Kind of, sort of, but it's tough because he's over in Israel, and there's, I believe, a 10-hour time difference between here and there, and so it's been tough to schedule something out.
Well, dude, like when
even just emailing back and forth has been kind of spotty.
Yeah, tell me about it. When I talk
didn't
with
know he's from Israel.
Yeah, he's over in the Israel. But yeah, when I talk with my dividend talk guys, European EDGI is over in Poland, and Derek, who's Engineer My Freedom, is in Ireland. So it's funny, like when I've talked with them, I'll do it at 8 a.m. And for them, I think for them, it's 8 a.m. here in Chicago. And for EDGI, it was, I think, 2 or 3 in the afternoon, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit of a difference there. And yeah, he said, by the way, we're getting better at our pronunciation.
Perfect.
So he said, Royal Bank of Canada, I heard from some friends that they aren't bad, but banks in general, it's not his. It's weird. I don't know. I know I should have exposure, and I'm sure I do in some of the ETFs, which is great. And I know I've talked about it, saying that it's kind of cool for me. Like I was emailing with KC, and she's big into like the little companies that, small caps that are going to blow up big and could, be 100 baggers. But for me, it's so hard to pick those that I would rather have my exposure to them in an ETF, which, is going to be self-cleansing. It's going to put them in and pull out the bad ones. But yeah, I just like it that I wouldn't have to focus on growth, and my ETFs can do that. Where for me, for where I'm at in my life, it's just so much easier to just of Johnson & Johnson, PepsiCo, and try and buy those when they're at a discount. Of course, as I say that, I didn't do that. I did the opposite with Pepsi, and it's worked out so far. But yeah, and really that's all that it is. Like I talked with you, Harris, on your podcast, dude, just buying solid companies, buying their cash flow. We're buying businesses. I always tell people, don't just focus on the dividends. I love it when I get questions and people are like, hey, this has got a 10% dividend yield. And it's like, it may be good, but from my experience, dude, it's right. It's so much harder to pick those companies that are, man, not proven, and you're buying a story. Like kind of Intel, though. I hate to admit it, but Intel is kind of a story stock right now that we hope what Pat Gelsinger is doing is going to play out.
They got earnings this week, and I'm ready for the worst, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't like that they cut 20% of their workforce, so they're about to lay off. It's concerning. So,
but wasn't that in like the SG&A, like sales and marketing? I think, I think it was in that area. So they're not cutting the workforce and like punching out the chips and R&D, because obviously that's what they're going to need to grow. But I think some of the more ancillary things like, it's important, but honestly, like sales and marketing is, they can do without that for a little while if they need to cut elsewhere. But it just shows that they're feeling the pressure to conserve capital, and you just got to worry and wonder, is something coming with the dividend? If it means the lifeblood of the company, any company is going to cut the dividend, hopefully, because if they don't, well, right, we've seen that companies sometimes borrow to pay the dividend, hoping that it's just a short-term thing, and then it just compounds and adds, fuel to the fire. But yeah, oh, by the way, for those of you on Intel, they did say during their last earnings report that they expected Q2 and Q3 to be the worst. So I'm expecting more bad news for them. And I don't know, dude, it could push them around, $20. But yeah, they say historically the fourth quarter and then the first quarter are usually their stronger quarters. So I think they're, kind of gave the expectation that it could be a little bit, bit ugly.
Yeah. See a lot of SoFi talk in the chat there.
Yeah, I don't invest in them. Obviously, they don't pay a dividend, right? They're not.
They don't. Yet. They don't. I know they're very close to being profitable. What SoFi, it's something if you can wait out for a very long term, I think it'll work out, especially at this price. But what made them really good, it's their leadership. Their CEO, Anthony Noto, is doing a really good job, really changing the company because obviously they were known as just a student loan refinance company. And well, if they would stick with that, the last 3 years, they'd have almost no business. So they've done a really good job with expanding and, getting out there. Their investment platform's actually pretty decent. I'm actually pretty impressed with what they've worked there. So hopefully they kind of build off of that. And their checking and savings is actually at a 2.50 right now. So you get that both for checking and savings. So they're doing really good work with that.
They have some fun ETFs, don't they? I'm Googling it now. Is there they have the weekly ETF, right?
Not worth it.
Yeah, I did an experiment with that a while ago when I first started the channel. But
you get I think it's like for each share, it's 2 cents a week, but I think the expense ratio is almost at a 0.50. It's like totally not worth it. But
you
it's a
nailed
cool concept,
it. 0.49%. Look at this guy go. He knows his numbers. 0.49% expense. Yeah, it's a gimmick, and that's what I think I did it for a month, I think, and that was what I said. It just feels really gimmicky to me to be getting dividends every week.
For Caitlin, she said it best right there. Wait till you get to that comment.
There we go.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. If anything that Kathy Woods doesn't touch, it's like, okay, we're on a good one. She's not wrong though.
So that's the kiss of death, huh?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. Here's Zal's saying if Intel hits 20, we'll hop on some puts. Yeah, man, that's going to be interesting. You guys buying any Intel at 20 if we get there?
At this point, luckily, my cost on Intel isn't. I know, Ryan, I know you can't say the same. I know it's like one of your big stinkers, but when I started the position, I think it's averaging around like 25. So
that's great, man.
I would do it. And it's like you kind of have to, like, people were chatting and he's like, Harris, how are you going to keep dollar cost averaging buying into Ally? Look at those misses. It's like, to me, it's a short thing. I mean, to me, the story hasn't changed, and I still believe in this company. So why would I not buy it? When I looked at it at 40, it's like, well, I would consider adding this, but if I wanted to add it at 40, why wouldn't I want to add it right now at 25, which is at its lowest? So it's like a good opportunity.
Dude, I love it how you said that. And did I mention that on your podcast? I never verified if it was Ray Dalio that said that. You buy a company, and if they drop in share price and the story hasn't changed, you buy more. It's simply that it's simply that simple, everyone.
Yeah. I mean, but there's that, and there's also dividend growth investing.
Yeah, I got to figure out what that is. I trademarked it, came up with it on the fly, just have no clue what it means. But it's a dividend growth party.
Dividend growth?
Yeah, it was again when my brain's going too fast for my mouth, and I got tongue-tied myself.
And it kind of stuck.
Yeah, I talked about dividend growth investing. Yeah, here KC puts Intel's true book value around $16. Now, I got a question for you, Casey, because I know with book value, isn't that kind of antiquated and a thing of the past? Because there's things like like if a company owns property, that's not factored in, and depreciated assets, I don't think are factored in, or are they? That's something I think I remember.
Wouldn't you just look at the tangible book value from there, though?
Yeah, I haven't. That might be something I should start looking in. Yeah, and then they are Mobileye is IPOing this week. I know Intel bought them 5 years ago. I think it was for $15 billion, and they wanted like a $50 billion valuation on it, but obviously because of market conditions, they're going to get about 30. So they're doubling their money, dude, and they're going to have plenty of shares that they can just keep selling off to bring in cash as they need it, from what I understand. So here she said, if you don't know how to adjust book value, it's largely useless. So yeah, it's kind of what you're talking about, Ryan, right? That's tangible is she's saying just adjust the book value. That to me is probably getting too deep for me, but
yeah, no, it's I'm still learning myself with like really looking at the numbers and stuff, and it's something that we learn every day with this, and I'm getting there. It's definitely sometimes it's a little overwhelming, but we take it day by day. You kind of break it up and you learn in sections.
Yeah, it's a constant work in progress.
Well, I will say I've been while I'm working, I've been going through Professor Eswath Damodaran's YouTube course. It's not a course. It's actually what he has taught at the I think Stern School of Business in New York City. It's his whole lecture, and it's all his slides are right on the screen. It's just really really interesting, and yeah, and I haven't. She said I think a lot of investors haven't read the actual S1 on the IPO. And it's just a way to let the market price the asset for Intel. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, they got a really interesting asset there, and we'll see how they use it. So hey, I got 5 minutes left. I'm going to wrap this thing up here. So yeah, so what are you looking at buying then again, Harris, for this coming week?
Said they were taking on that challenge for FCHD, minimum 1 share per deposit, build that up. I thought about doing it with Ally, but I do not want to have a bank as my number one holding just due to risk. So I think just spreading it out with SCHG is just perfect. Get a little bit of everything, and definitely am going to add the Ally. Lows I definitely want to add to. Other than that, in my portfolio, and it's kind of the one I would like the dollar cost average, but the way I invest in companies I use every day and that I'm passionate about, and it's one of those where the numbers aren't the best right now, and that's for VFC. I can't tell you. I can't even tell you how much Vans products we have in this household. Hats, pants, shirt, you name it. It's in the thousands. And I love the company. I love the brand. It's just right now the numbers aren't the sexiest, and it's getting at that point where the yield is getting really high, where it starts. Okay, do I want to put a lot of money into this? And if not, I think I'll just add a little bit here just to keep supporting the company I love and kind of play it out.
Yeah, well, they got their issues, and they're gonna still have headwinds. So, but like you said, if yeah, and props to you, Ryne. Casey said if you're talking about tangible book is good because it strips out intangibles and goodwill, but you have to take it further on your own, and that's something again I'm probably gonna learn a little bit more about. And hey, that's helpful, even if it's not correct, even if you can put like doing like the Buffett, the Buff Dog, putting a value on that company, which is like, I've been slowly putting together information for a Coca-Cola video. And yeah, he, like in 80, coming out of that 87 market crash, that's why he went heavy into Coke, because it fell to his margin of safety, what he was waiting for, from what I've read. So
Russ, let me ask you this. They have earnings this week. What are your expectations for that? I know obviously Pepsi killed it. What do you think Coke's going to do?
I think probably similar. People love Coke. We just had a day out in the city yesterday with my kids, and my daughters both wanted Coke for like a treat. So we paid it.
I don't know if you can see that or not.
Oh, nice. What does it say underneath? I can't read the.
It's the real thing.
Oh,
I actually bought this in the Las Vegas store when I went there last in September for vacation.
Oh, the Coca-Cola store right by New York, right there.
Yep, I bought that.
Dude, I need to pop in there.
Dude, it's pretty cool, and especially for me, I collect a bunch of random stuff. As you can see here, I'm not a big collector. Look at all the bunch of crap I have in here. I collect toys. I collect pins, and I collect refrigerator magnets. I bought so many refrigerator magnets and Coca-Cola pins. That's like my thing. So.
That's awesome, man.
Really, Coca-Cola does really good with the licensing and their branding for like clothing and stuff and all this other stuff. So I think it's really cool.
And Casey, yeah, I let them get Coke, but they own Coke too. We can own both. That was just me, so I bought it for them. And hey, just helping their dividends out. But
Pepsi has the snack. Coke has the better beverage. I'm sorry, but Pepsi has all the snacks.
Yeah, it was fun, good stuff. And, beyond investing, I love it. We have a limited number of days on this planet. We don't know when our number's up. So, make the most of your time, what you got with your friends and family. And with that, I'm going to do one more thing here. Let's see if I can fumble my way through this. And it is. Was that a bit loud or no?
It was perfect. I love Pee Wee so much.
Good. Okay. Yeah, I could have ended it there, but all right, we're at an hour here, and last comment here. Here, I'll answer this. It's beyond me going to survive. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see. Not a dividend stock. Don't focus too much. And Cody, he has a YouTube channel, Citizen of the Year. He's buying Union Pacific, which if you follow, I'll probably talk a little bit about that in the newsletter tonight. So anyway, all right. Well, I do thank you, Ryne, for hopping on. Harris, everybody, check out his podcast, One Penny at a Time. I'll have a link below to it if it's not already there. I don't remember. And yeah, we'll talk to you next week. So long.
Yeah, let's do this again soon, guys.
Yeah.
This was fun. It was fun.
I love
with
it.
You guys.
Hey, it's easier on me because I don't have to talk and I can look up stuff and give you like the highest yielding FDIC insured savings account right now today. So good stuff. I love it, guys. And yeah, we'll chat again.
Russ, thank you so much for having it on. Ryan, great seeing you. Everybody in the chat, appreciate you all joining here, and enjoy the rest of the Sunday. Let's go New York Giants.
Love it, man.
All right, see you guys. Have a good day.
All right, see ya.
Bye.